So this is where I am today on this glorious April day, the Grange, to look at one of the resurgent Thirsk Angling Club's waters on the River Swale, and it's between Baldersby St James and Topcliffe. And here there are speed bumps just before you go into the yard, and it's 5 miles an hour and it's strict. Just to the right of that SUV you'll see a sign there lighting up. I wonder if it lights up when I go along. Let's have a look. And there on the sign there's obviously CCTV and the Thirsk Angling Club private fishing sign. That sign lights up even when I'm walking in. 3 miles an hour. So this is the Grange, which is between Baldersby St James and Topcliffe, and it's one of the fisheries on the River Swale, which are part of the Thirsk Angling Club, which has been resurrected. Barking little dog here. But when you come onto this farm, obviously it's 5 miles an hour, and there's a little one of these little indicators which tells you what your speed is as you pass through. So make sure you stick to the 5 mile an hour limit and you don't upset anybody. So you come down there past the buildings and you park here. Place here for 4, but today it's busy with delivery from lorries, so I've moved it. But that's where you would normally park there, and you take this little track which will take you down to the very bottom. So just dropping down through the wood into the field, and there is the Thirsk Angling Club private fishing sign. So the river is just across the field where those trees are, but to access it you have to go right away around the side of this wood all the way down to the bottom marker. Now between June and October, if the weather is okay, then you will be able to drive down here and along this wood side with a 4x4 and park at the very bottom end, which I'll have a look at when I get down there. This is the bottom of the length, and you can park here between June and October. Some rushes there, so I wouldn't recommend coming down here when it's wet, even in a 4x4. And the river is just over the flood bank there. Let's go and have a look at it. Although there's no bottom limit sign, it looks like this post here is the boundary. Corner post there on the side of this track, and beyond that is private. So let's have a look at the river. Have a look at these pegs as we go up here. It's taken me 10 minutes to get from the farm down here, so it's not very far, and it's flat. So this looks like the bottom peg, and there's obviously been some clearing going on here. We haven't had any rain for about 6 weeks, and the river is absolutely on its knees. But for those of you who know the area, on the opposite side there is Salmon Hall, which by its very name is linked to fishing. There's the relatively new, I don't know what you call it, a barn, arena, whatever it's called anyway, relatively new cow house. Oh, fish rising up there. It is essentially a chub water. Big bags of chub have come out of here. And the occasional good barbel. Well, this is peg 15. Lots of little fish rising out there. I think we nice pike water as well. About a quarter of the way up the field there are some power lines going across, so be very careful when you're here. They look rather innocuous, but they do carry a tremendous voltage, these. It's not your domestic voltage. So this is peg 13. It'll be a totally different place once there's a bit of a flood on. I've never seen a river as low as this for a long time. Peg 11. They've all been cut back really nicely, so casting is easy. And there don't look to be too many snags in the river either. So lots of places without peg markers where the leisure angler could slot in and fish. So we're now up at peg 8. The same sheep bleating away. Some nice features on the other side there. Barbel would hang about. Peg 6. Big drop off there into some very deep water. Some features on the opposite side. It's peg 4. Very deep. Even now it's deep when the river's really low. And opposite, people of a certain age will remember that. Not the same building, but this is what is still called the piggeries. And I seem to remember Bradford number 1 had it, but I think they've given it up. And this is peg 3, directly opposite the piggeries. And so that's the first field, and the land rises at this point. And there's some large trees, a bit of wood here, so you have to walk round that. And of course at this time of year the nettles are only about 6 inches high, whereas I suspect by June and July they'll be up round your waist at this point. So I've walked along this next field with the wood on my right going upstream, and all the way along here there are these power lines. They're not very high, and you don't have to actually touch them with a carbon rod if you get anywhere near it. The current will jump from the wire to your rod, which will liven up your day no end. So there's no access to the river from the side of this field all the way up, but there's some interesting wildlife. An amazing place. In the corner of the field is the Thirsk Angling Club private fishing sign. Let's go down and have a look at the river, see what there is down there. So the very top of the length is where those large trees finish, on this right bank which I'm standing on, and there are a couple of pegs you can fish up there. I've meandered my way along an animal track while the vegetation is low. You can see it there. And at this point the river shallows up. And is fishable all the way, well not all the way, but certainly for quite a long way down here. And wadable. I wonder if there's any trout in here. Grilling in the winter time. It's a very, very peaceful place to be. Well, here you can see the reason for the shallows. Like rocky slabs exposed at this very low water. I suspect you don't see them very often. And a couple of buzzards over there, a mating pair circling round. Well, it's the part of the river I've never experienced. I know nothing about it. I know the fishing can be tough, but very occasionally it throws up big bugs of chub and the occasional nice barbel. This is the sort of first peg you can fish on the very top section. Now looking down you can see the shallows where I've just been to. Anyway, let's make our way back up onto the road. So this is the very top fence. There you can see Baldersby St James Church, designed by a fellow called Butterworth, very famous architecture, arts and crafts. You don't often see it in the north of England, but it was built for a friend of his called Lord Down. He also built the village and Baldersby Hall, which is now a girls' school. His most famous church is in London, and he did design one to commemorate the massacre in the Afghan wars, which is in Mumbai or Bombay in India, which I went to see, but it's now the British have left it in a pretty parlous state, but certainly worth a visit if you're ever in Mumbai. From this corner, wander straight up this hedge to those trees in the distance, which is where the road is. There's Baldersby St James School on the left. You see the church peering out on the right. If I turn round, this is Broom Farm. I think that's what it's called. And this is the access to the top of the Grange Farm Thirsk Angling Club stretch, which I've just walked, and tucks away behind that bush there. It says private fishing, Thirsk Angling Club, and there's an email address. And then looking down the road towards Topcliffe. So I'll just walk down there to Grange Farm and pick up my car. Well, I left here at 2:10, and I've done the whole circular. The walk down the road's a bit tortuous. and it's now 10 to 4. So that's not too bad, let's consider videoing and looking at wildlife, and but it's a lovely place. But of course it all depends how well it fishes. And if you are fishing here in a match, you want a high number, unless you want a long walk. This is a map of the Grange section on the River Swale. There's a slight omission on the video. Down at the bottom here, where the 4x4 can park, I thought the fishing started there. But it does in fact go further down, about 100 yards to the St Mary's School boundary, so that bit there is missed off. The rest of it is okay.